So I am Simi, Marketing and Events Lead for APAC for the Oracle for Startups program. The agenda for today is to communicate on the partnership between the Oracle for Startups and Nvidia Inception programs. Oracle and Nvidia have committed to help more AI startups achieve scale and success through a collaboration between their global startup programs. We will learn how startups are leveraging the parallel computing capabilities of Nvidia's GPUs with the help of Oracle Cloud to scale and go to market globally. This will be followed by the presentation from the iQLect team, who will talk about the solution and experience of being part of these programs before we finally wrap up for Q&A. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Lee to you all. At Oracle for Startups, Lee helps Series A companies and beyond scale by leveraging Oracle's technology, a vast network of mentors, product experts, and customers. Lee played a key role in successfully launching the global Oracle for Startups and the Nvidia Inception collaboration to help more AI startups achieve scale and success. Over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Simi, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody that is on this webinar, wherever you are joining us from across the globe. And welcome to Power Up Your AI with Oracle and Nvidia Inception. As Simi mentioned, my name is Lee Reeves, and in my capacity at Oracle for Startups, I help Series A companies and beyond scale by leveraging Oracle's technology, our vast network of mentors, product experts, and customers. Before I go into more about Oracle for Startups, I do want to welcome our two distinguished speakers, Nidya Raj from Nvidia Inception and Sachin Sinha, founder and CEO of iQLect, which is a predictive and real-time data and analytics platform that easily monitors and predicts user and machine behavior. Welcome to Nidya and Sachin. Thank you guys very much for joining us today. It's good to have you here. So before I turn it over to them, Simi, if you'll go to the next slide, I would like to spend just a few minutes talking about what we have built at Oracle for Startups. At Oracle for Startups, we are creating what we call a virtuous cycle of innovation, where we're basically opening up our technology stack, right? Our enterprise resources to deliver transformative solutions to customers in partnership with startups that are in our program. So without taking any equity whatsoever, we offer access to our complete stack of Oracle Cloud solutions supported by a very robust group of experienced cloud and industry mentors. So a relationship for a startup that starts with free cloud really has the potential to expand into a true partnership where startups scale to reach a new audience of enterprise customers. So more information about the Oracle for Startups program. I mentioned that we don't take any equity. Our program is open to startups and innovators worldwide, both B2B and B2C startups. We don't have an application process, and year-round enrollment is open at the link that is listed on the slide. Startups get free cloud credits. We offer migration support, mentorship, and a 70% discount on the most robust value price cloud in the industry. Our startup portal offers on-demand access to exclusive program benefits, and qualifying startups can level up to take advantage of business-boosting market connections. So in this model, everybody wins, right? Startups get cloud credits and a 70% discount for 2 years, plus global exposure and access to customers. Oracle customers meet vetted startups in transformative spaces that help them stay ahead of their competition. And Oracle stays at the competitive edge of innovation with solutions that complement its existing technology stack. So what I've outlined for you here are some of the Market Connect benefits, not only for startups that are in the program, but also for Oracle as an organization, as well as some of our customers as well. And if you have any further questions on the Market Connect benefits, I'm happy to field some of those questions during the Q&A section. So I would like to talk a little bit about Yamaha motorcycles. Yamaha motorcycles sales in Brazil were declining. Customers were leaving dealerships empty-handed and uninspired, and the Yamaha executive team wanted to fix the problem, but their data was disconnected. So they needed a new approach. And to complete their big vision, Yamaha tapped two very exciting startups in our program, Yami and Ginga One, to bring their customer experience vision to life. The powerful combination of enterprise solutions with integrated startup technology completed the vision of a seamless customer experience. So we're very excited about the collaboration between Yami, Ginga One, and Yamaha motorcycles. I would also like you to consider the case of Kinetica. Kinetica is an active analytics platform that helps companies and governments manage the make or break shift from using data as a passive asset to using data as an active asset. By leveraging powerful Nvidia GPUs on Oracle Cloud infrastructure to process and analyze complex streaming, historical, and even location data at scale, and then applying machine learning to that data, Kinetica helps organizations build real-time analytical applications that react instantaneously to changing conditions. I'd also like to highlight that Kinetica is a member of the Oracle for Startups program, as well as the Nvidia Inception program. So now to our collaboration with Nvidia Inception. On May 14th of this year, we announced our commitment to work with Nvidia to help more AI startups achieve scale and success through a collaboration between our global startup programs. So the collaboration combines Oracle's co-selling opportunities and vast marketing and events with Nvidia's resources to provide startups with business building, boosting tools that are essential to their growth. So today, I'm excited to tell you that eligible Nvidia Inception startups can enroll in the Oracle for Startups program and receive up to $15,000 per month for 3 months, or a total of $45,000 in Oracle Cloud credits, and receive a 70% discount for up to 2 years on ongoing Oracle Cloud services. Keep in mind that cloud credits are also discounted at 70%, which means your credits go almost 3 times as far. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Nidya, to tell you more about Nvidia Inception.
Hi, everyone. Moving ahead, let me introduce you all to Nidya. Nidya heads startup and VC ecosystem for Nvidia in South Asia, where she evangelizes the adoption of AI across various industry segments. As a technologist, she handles an interdisciplinary role, working very closely with AI and data science startups, corporates, government, and academia. She also dedicates her time for Tech for Good nonprofit initiatives at TinkerHub and Random Hacks of Kindness as an executive member. She started her professional career with NASCOM, and prior to that, she ran her own startup for 3 years while she was pursuing engineering and Young India Fellowship. Her wearable innovation Nirbhaya 2.0 has been recognized by US Consulate, TCS, Marker Fair, Marker Fest, Coca-Cola, etc. So without much further ado, I'll hand it over to Nidya. Nidya, over to you.
Thank you so much, Simi. A very warm welcome to everyone. And let me also thank you, Lee, for starting off the webinar with such a good note. Let's move on to the new presentation that we have. I am Nidya Viraj. I head the startup and VC ecosystem for Nvidia in South Asia, and I'm here to talk about how a computing platform company is empowering thousands of startups by democratizing the access to AI. Many of you know that Nvidia started off in the visual computing domain and further progressed into an accelerated computing company, where we play a role much more than a chip manufacturer. Nvidia is dedicated to improving the world by advancing in graphics, high-performance computing, and AI. We have pioneered in GPU-accelerated computing And our CUDA platform makes the life easier for the Da Vinci's and the Einsteins of the world. We advance computing from the processors to systems, software, AI algorithms, and tools. Next slide, please.
Just a small request, everyone kindly mute yourself. We are having some background noises.
Nvidia's computing solutions address the end-to-end development of AI. Nvidia is optimized for every AI model and every AI framework and computers in all forms of AI, starting from the machine learning to deep learning to the reinforcement learning. Everything can be processed with the help of Nvidia. We make it possible for the workload ranging from data processing to AI model training to model deployment across every cloud and computers. NVIDIA GPU Cloud provides access to well-updated CUDA-compliant SDKs, frameworks, tools, Helm charts, and pre-trained AI models, and so on and so forth. Next slide. If you look at the graph, you can see how vast we have been spread across. And NVIDIA GPU Cloud provides the access to a well-updated CUDA-compliant SDKs, and so on and so forth. Our platforms like NVIDIA Drive, which is used for autonomous driving, ISAC for robotics, Rapids for data science, Metropolis for intelligent video analytics, and CUDA Clara, which is bifurcated into medical image analytics and genomics. We have recently launched Clara Guardian, which
Nidya, can you just unmute yourself? There were too much of background news that I have muted everyone. So please unmute yourself before speaking. Sorry about that.
Sorry, no worries, no worries. So now that you've seen how exactly we have been omnipresent in the ecosystem, let me deep dive into our startup engagement program. The goal of the Nvidia Inception is to nurture and scale AI startups. And this is across the globe, by the way. The sector agnostic program becomes a launchpad from growing from seed stage to unicorn status, and so on and so forth. Most of our members start off as an Inception community partner, and over the course of time, they evaluate into matured members known as premier members. Next slide. So NVIDIA Inception program always starts with the access to NVIDIA's widely successful developer platforms like NVIDIA Developer Zone, DevTalk Forums, and Deep Learning Institute. As you can see, most of the premium members out here do have like a dedicated marketing and business development opportunities with NVIDIA. Next slide. The Deep Learning Institute is a great resource for anybody to kickstart with the deep learning, starting from the fundamentals to advanced versions of deep learning courses. And as an Inception member, you get 200 credits over to almost 20 plus advanced technical courses in deep learning. This can be used to skill or reskill your employees as well as to educate yourself. Next slide. As it is imperative to support startups, especially during their product development, we do provide preferred pricing for on-premise infrastructure, depending on the geographical area that the startup belongs to. On the similar lines, we have also partnered with cloud service providers to reduce the internal R&D costs with respect to the GPU consumption. And the very classic example is Oracle Cloud. Next slide. As we grow along with NVIDIA, we open up the corridor to customers across the geographies, depending on the stage that you are in. Our GPU computing conferences and partner-driven industry events are a great avenue to get noticed by your potential customers. I'm also happy to share that we will be soon announcing a special edition of GTC in the month of October, and stay tuned to our emails to get the updates regarding the same. From the seed funding to growth investments, NVIDIA supports startups which are aligned with our strategies via GPU Ventures, which is our corporate venture arm. We have so far invested in 35 startups, and 9 successful exits have been there so far. Inception acts as a pipeline towards GPU venture investments. And as you can see it in the screen, we are super selective with our investments. Our accelerator program offers from a go-to-market support, expertise, technology for this program members, especially through the deep learning training, exclusive Inception events, preferred pricing, and much many more. Moving on to one of the latest partnership in the ecosystem. Oracle for Startups, Lee has perfectly given a really good presentation on the program already. Let me re-emphasize on the key pointers once again, just to register it in your mind. Nvidia Inception joined hands with Oracle Cloud, delivering the Nvidia's latest GPU architecture. Turing and the Ampere will be available to the startups at a very cheap price. Through this partnership, Oracle will be allocating almost $15,000 per month cloud credits for up to 3 months and 70% discount for about 2 years. Apart from this, Oracle for Startup program also provide access to the world-class product portfolio, partner ecosystem, global marketing, events, PR resources, migration assistance, and customer base depending on the stage of the startup. Apart from this, we have many other external partners like Freshworks, HubSpot supporting our program as well. This pretty much summarizes the core benefits of Nvidia Inception program. Let me also take a moment to quickly introduce 3 startups which have been part of the Inception program and has been setting a good precedence for us. Starting with Netradyne. They are a leading AI startup which is focusing on the driver and the commercial fleet safety, which is known for our Jetson GPU series to deep learning inferencing. Moving on to one of the major AI problem statement in the country, like India, where we have numerous languages in use. Next slide. Jnani AI is an Inception community member that works with more than 10 Indian languages and make use of Nvidia V100 GPUs to process the NLP workload that they have. They represent an omnipresent conversational AI platform, which can be easy to decipher to anybody in India. Next slide. Last but not the least, we have Innoplexis, a startup which is well known in the healthcare industry. This Indo-German startup utilizes DGX-1 supercomputer systems to process millions of medical documents and information to provide really valuable analytics to the pharma companies. Recently, they were also under the limelight for working with various AI consortiums to enable the drug discovery for COVID-19. I'm really glad to onboard IQLect as one of the first joint customer case study between Nvidia and Oracle in India as well. Finally, I would like to stress on the fact that Inception and Oracle both act as a joint program to make sure that we can help you, all of the AI startups out there in the world. As a non-cohort program, Nvidia Inception gives you a full liberty for the startups with respect to their products, strategic priorities, and so on and so forth. By the way, this is all absolutely free of cost. So join Inception today itself, and all you need to do is visit nvidia.com/inception and apply to Inception right away to get all the benefits I was talking about. And most importantly, do let us know if you want to get the latest GPUs from Oracle and Nvidia as part of the Inception program as well. That's all from my end. Thank you so much. I would like to hand it over to Simi from Oracle.
Thank you so much, Nivya. And it was great listening to you and Lee. I'm sure we will be having many follow-up questions from our listeners after this. Sachin, I'll hand it over to you. I'll stop my sharing. You can go ahead and share your screen. It takes me great pleasure to welcome Sachin. Sachin is the founder of IQLect. Sachin brings over 18 years of experience in software design, development, and project leadership in building high-performance, scalable, distributed software products and platforms for cluster, distributed computing, and database. Prior to founding IQLect, Sachin was CTO of Jabong, CTO of LimeRoad, engineering head at Amazon for the e-commerce sponsored link platform, where he helped build the team and the product from ground up for very large scale volume and traffic. Sachin has co-authored and published papers and developed several IPs in the database technologies and concurrent parallel systems. Sachin is BTech from IIT Kanpur. Over to you, Sachin.
Thanks a lot, Simi. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Good morning, and thanks for joining us this morning for this webinar. A very warm welcome to all of you. And thanks, Oracle and Nvidia, for giving me this opportunity today to talk about our product and one of the use cases specifically that we have implemented on top of Oracle and Nvidia. So let me just quickly, this is going to be a bit technical discussion, so I hope when you have some question, and I just save it for the end, and we will go into the question and answer session as well. So Simi has already introduced me, but our company, which is IQLect, is all about real-time data analytics, especially in the streaming scenario. And we actually focus in the IoT or analyzing things coming from devices mostly. And we have sort of created our own product, which is a NoSQL database, which is a little different from typical NoSQL. And I'll try to cover that part as well. And we actually provide a kind of a unified product and set of solutions for different use cases. So let me just set the context why we are doing what we are doing. And this one graph summarizes things very nicely. So as you see, we have actually more and more data coming from devices. And those data points are all sorts of data, structured data, unstructured data mostly, log data, or it could be images or videos. All of these data are increasing day by day. And in just 4 to 5 years, half of the global data sphere will be from devices. So this is actually shifting the ground itself. And as of now, if you try and see, we have less than 5% of such data. So this is a huge shift that is taking place. This is a trend that is actually driving a lot of use cases in many different verticals and domains. And we want to focus here on this problem. Now, if you see what is this trend doing when it comes to actually several elements when we talk about the data analytics. And they are artificial intelligence, they are streaming data analysis, the automation part, edge computing versus the cloud computing or the hybrid computing. Now, things have been scattered for a while. Now, this trend is actually fusing all of these together. And these 4 or 5 dimensions are coming together and creating a new space, which is already visible and palpable. And this space is where we will require all of these things at once in a single platform. Today, we handle this by stitching multiple elements, multiple components or platforms from the market, maybe open source, maybe a licensed version. And then we stitch them together and try to create the suitable platform where we can handle those use cases. However, there are going to be impedance mismatch over there because all of these components are heterogeneous in nature and they had different design goals. So we really need a system or a platform to be designed for this single goal where we have a convergence of AI operations, edge computing, streaming analysis, and also the data store at one single place. And we try to operate in this converged space. Hence, we have created our own NoSQL, as I said. We call it BangDB. And it is very simple to explain this database because all we do is convergence. We actually converge AI, streaming, and NoSQL in a single place. We work in the devices, within the devices. There are certain use cases which are getting emphasized every single day where we need to do a lot more local analytics. Local could be mobile or static. And at the same time, we need to be on the cloud or on-premise, and these things should be interconnected. And this actually gives us a lot of benefits, both from the network optimization and some of these use cases that we can address in a real-time manner, operation analytics. There are a lot of things here when it comes to embedded analytics. And of course, when we talk about devices, devices are generating log data, text data, or images and videos as well. So we needed a data store where we can actually understand all of these things at a time in a single place. Now, if you see most of the NoSQLs in the market, they have been designed with the premise that the upfront structuring of data is not important. And whereas the moment you select a NoSQL, you tend to structure data upfront. So there has been a sort of a problem there. When it comes to, let's say, ingesting text data, log data, and also, let's say, images, and there are several use cases which will require all of these things to be done in a system or a platform perspective. So we needed to handle multiple kinds of data. Hence, the BangDB is actually a key value store. At the same time, it stores document. It does time series data management. It handles images and videos, and it also handles the analytics part. Now, this is our focus area where what we call is that we handle fast moving data. All of these are fast moving data, and these fast moving data are actually perishable in nature. So if we don't analyze and extract the value from it as soon as possible, the value within it will actually degrade significantly, just very quickly within few minutes. So we need to ingest all this data. We need to process and find the interesting patterns, and then integrate those interesting intelligence with the ongoing operation. And if you are able to do that in a simple and a scalable manner, then there are a lot of benefits. We focus in log analysis. By log, we mean every kind of data. IoT means we actually we will do embedded analytics also. We can take the BangDB and put within the microprocessor and then connect it with the server running on the cloud. And then we handle clickstream. Clickstream, we feel that it's also kind of infrastructure only, because the data moves very, very quickly. And typically the consumer internet market is looking for personalization, which is more on one-to-one manner rather than segmented manner. This is very high level overview of the platform. I won't go into the detail except the fact that when you take this database, you get everything, and you can put it on the cloud, or you can actually use it on your machine also, on your commodity hardware. It doesn't actually require a dedicated, big server. The tech stack is we have actually, since we have created it from ground up, there are a bunch of things that we had to handle. For example, in order to be performant and ingesting data with high speed, we needed an IO layer, which is a little different. So we created our own IO layer. The whole data store is created towards this kind of use cases. There's an analytic piece, machine learning, and then stream processing. We leverage, we dog food some of our own, techniques and models in terms of when it comes to analyzing the data while ingesting. And there is a whole distribution layer on top of it. Now, in this particular webinar, the goal was, since we also do image analysis or video analysis, so one of the goals was to actually talk about the problem which we solved on top of Oracle and Nvidia. And this was basically a little challenging initially for us, and both from the complexity point of view, the volume point of view, and also the time it was taking in order to actually iterate over things. And we all know that in AI or in ML or DL, we need to iterate so many times. So the problem was that given a SAR or UAV images, UAV means unmanned air a vehicle, which is like your drone and some pictures coming in from sky, some device flying and taking pictures. SAR is basically these pictures taken by some of the satellites. So these pictures could be very high resolution pictures, or these pictures could be very, very low resolution picture. And most of the time we deal with actually very noisy and bad picture quality. And the problem was that using those pictures, can we find a signature of interest? And signature of interest could be anything. It could be spotting certain objects. It could be counting certain objects in a given area. It could be also noticing some of the changes which is happening on daily basis, which is a time-sensitive use case. And then upon identifying those things, can we also integrate the the output with some of the production system used by the different companies. So here, the number one challenge was that, how do we deal with the noisy and low quality images? Feature extraction was really complex. Labeling, initially we started with manual labeling, and then we trained some model and tried to automate some of the processes. The volume was high because the SAR images are GeoTIFF images, and they are very big size images. And the UAV, actually, they come in large numbers. So we had a lot of volume to handle on everyday basis. We were trying to identify more than hundreds of objects. So there were like more than 100 classes that we were interested in. And then how do we do the ingestion process and output all in a seamless and automated manner? This was the challenge. The technique, of course, it is, there are a lot of details here, but from high level, we were, of course, using the CNN, DNN. We were also using a lot of other classification models. We used our models to segment or classify the objects before actually, so there were pre-processing and then processing and post-processing happening. And there are a whole bunch of detail here, but what we used was some of the open source libraries. I'm just naming few here, but we used mostly TensorFlow, dlib, OpenCV, and of course the BangDB. And BangDB, actually, when you install BangDB, you don't need to get all these three things separately, or maybe other things. All of these will come as well. Some integration will be done already. So some of the parts that BangDB was handling nicely was ingestion of data, and then object marking, and then processing. This is the workflow that you see. It's again very similar to most of the use cases that we tackle in this area. But one thing is pretty noticeable here is that there are a lot of, in the deep learning area, especially we were doing a lot of to and fro, and we needed to do that very, very quickly in a scalable manner. So this was one of the motivations for us to move towards, Oracle and Nvidia. Now, iQLect has been part of Oracle startup since almost like a year now. And we moved from, we were actually on most of the clouds earlier. And since we don't actually typically leverage a lot of services from the cloud providers, it's the infrastructure that we need. So it makes sense for us to move to Oracle quickly. The second, while moving, we actually were able to sort of accelerate the process with the certain helps that we got from Oracle. And since the platform was already there and we were consuming most of the data at Oracle level, then it became very, very sort of important thing for us to leverage the GPU in order to accelerate the deep learning use case processing. And we found that the Nvidia is already there, and we use the Nvidia GPUs. Our code is CUDA compliant, so it was easy for us to just spin those infrastructure, those machines, and of course we cut down also on the heavily that on the operation side, basically the DevOps side, because one or two single instances of Nvidia could take care of a lot of other commodity hardwares that you might be using. And so processing of data was faster. We were able to achieve 8 to 10 or maybe a little more speed up. We could have done much better, but we had a time constraint, so we were satisfied with the acceleration. Also, because this acceleration gave us opportunity and bandwidth to build some of the models for marking and event processing as well. And so we were able to achieve that as well. Now, this is a huge system that I'm talking about when it comes to dealing with this use case. And to demonstrate all the use case in entirety will be not possible in this session. So what I've done is actually just to, for you to sort of, appreciate the complexity of it, or what we did, actually some of the challenges that we were facing. I have separated, sort of bifurcated the main use case into multiple use cases, which could be done very easily by anyone. If somebody downloads or takes BangDB, you don't have to actually wait. You can simply start doing these things on immediate basis. So let me show you how. So let's say that the first problem was, let me start from middle itself. The first problem was, how do we actually deal with the satellite images? If you see the satellite images, actually they come something like this. If you're able to see, this is one of the biggest images that we will get, and there are like thousands and hundreds of thousands of such images. Now this image is not enough. We wanted to analyze individual boxes that you see here. So effectively, we were actually taking, we were using, which I'm sure you will not be able to see, here. It's so small, but let me show it to you. So this is the image that I'm talking about. It's a 20 by 20 pixel image. And let's say we want to identify this object. Now, there is hardly any data point here, which would actually help you deal with this. So some of these challenges, and so we built the model in order to identify these things. And then the other problem was, given an image, can we actually index those images in our DB and use the image search in order to find the similar images? So so we do that. We actually take the image. There is no annotation required manually. You simply pass the folder, the image folder, and let's say vacation, some folder, and then we give a, let's say, some input image, and we want to find similar images. Okay. So let's say this is the input image. I have taken this image because this is a very vague image and kind of a mixed with the background also. And we want to, let's say, find all similar images present in the, let's say, some repo. But we don't just want to do that. We also want to index all of these images in our BangDB so that the future search could be done very quickly. I've just taken a repo of less than 1,000 images, but the principle is same. You should be able to index millions of images within an hour, and then you can just simply pass the input image, and it will give you all the relevant similar images. So in 2-3 seconds, we'll be able to see the output. Okay, so it has actually indexed all those images in our database, and they could be searched differently also. We don't necessarily need to pass the image. We can pass the image descriptor, and all of these images, if you see, are different, but this is very similar to the input image. So I'll quickly move on. Now let's say that this was the image search, but there was another problem that we wanted to, given an object, can we find the image in which actually contains this object? So let's say, let me first show it to you. What is this image? Let's say that quickly, just let's say that I want to find all the images where this particular piece is presented within that image. And so again, you can train a lot of things here. The way I'm doing prediction, you can train also. But let's say I just want to find this image. So I'll quickly just pass the what I want to find and where I want to find. So right now I'm just giving one image, but you could just point it to database table or database itself. And then when you run the specific test, you will see that the object that was given, it is able to find here in this big image, and it's also able to correlate. Now this correlation actually is being done, it's a known stuff, but it's actually happening through what we call is a, let's say it is finding the interesting point here, if you see, and plus also it is it is also able to do the draw the contours out of it. So if you see, this is, if I extend it, you'll be able to see. Okay, so basically it's drawing the contours. Okay, let me just show it on the bigger one. Yeah, so if you see, this picture is converted into this, and then also the interesting point, and then that's how we were able to do that. Just quickly, I'll just conclude this one, but let me show you how easy it is to just input a video and start recognizing the object in it. So let's say any random video that we give, you just need to pass it here, and the DB will start taking it, and it could be anything. There is, I mean, you don't need to have a human there, but it could be any video, and it should be able to let's say this one. Okay, so again, you can train your own model, and it will actually now there's an interesting one which I want to also talk about, is just quickly 1 minute, is can we actually segregate the objects from a given cluster? I'm using human faces here, but you could actually put any, let's say, tankers or airplanes. So these are, if you see, randomized set of pictures. Now this could be separate objects which is randomly distributed over in a big picture, and task is to actually cluster them and put them separately. So again, there is enough trained stuff here in this DB to take care of that. Now, if you see, it is able to sort of do that in a simple manner. Now, these are some of the things. There are many other things that we could do without going into the, specifically the training of models. But let's say if you want to train a model, and if you want to do, let's say, all we need to do is put a data in a folder and define the classes and put all images there and simply run the training. If you want to modify the parameters, the BangDB gives you enough options to tune the parameters of CNN or anything, or you can just simply use a lot of models. We have more than hundreds of models pre-built into the DB itself, but there are many others you can download. The other interesting aspect of this BangDB is that you could bring in any external trained model or even external file that you have written for training model, and you can run within the BangDB. The advantage you get here is that since data is already being ingested, you will be able to leverage the training and the prediction in a continuous manner. And there is an option of putting it on an automated workflow. So if you want to train every end of every day or every week, you don't have to manually come and do. You can simply just set that, and the BangDB will take care of both creating, testing, versioning, deploying, and also sending you the stats for the how the model is performing. We just wanted to also announce that this 2.0 we have launched. You can go to bangdb.com and download. There are a bunch of things here. This is not a first release of BangDB where we thought of releasing a database newly created. This system has been running for several years now. We have sold this platform to many companies without even launching this BangDB. Many use cases we have solved, and it's running on production to solve many problems for over a period of time now. But first time we decided that since it's a converged NoSQL, it's pretty different from the typical NoSQLs you get. So it might be helpful if developers would download and see if it makes sense. I would love to get any feedback if you choose to use it or test it out or take it for a ride. any feedback, any suggestion would be really appreciated, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. Thanks, Simi. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Sachin, and congratulations and all the best for the new launch.
Thanks, Simi.
Great. So now let's move on to our Q&A sessions. I see we have some questions which have been posted on the Q&A window.
All right. So Rishabh, for now, providing access to hardware is something we don't consider it anymore because of the pandemic situation. But let's connect offline to see what the project is about, to see if it's something which we can try to support you with. My mail ID, I will just type it up actually, so you can mail it to me.
Sure. Thanks, Nidya. Then I have a question for Sachin. Sachin, what advice or best practices would you give to other startups about navigating in large enterprises?
Okay. So this is a very big question, but
maybe some 2 or 3 pointers.
Yeah, I will speak from my experiences.
Right.
So one of the key things is actually that today the core proposition which has a differentiator is definitely a lot more attractive than the collaterals and other garnishing stuff which I have felt over the years. And the market has completely changed also the way in terms of sales is happening. So we need to find partners. We need to find the people who have credibility in the market, and see if we can piggyback and create some joint strategy. So this one definitely works very nicely for a startup, because we always lack resources, time, money, everything, and also the experience part. And of course, there is a lack of branding and credibility in the market. So those things we can complement by partnering with some of the big guys like Oracle or Nvidia. And when you have actually proven some of the use cases, technologies over there, then you have created a kind of a precedence which could be attractive to the people. So I would definitely say that have a solid differentiator and create a product which has a value, not just the good looking UI and UX. And then third thing is a very nice some kind of a strategy with different partners who can actually help you take to the market and right people, right customers. For example, this Oracle startup program, as Rajiv was explaining, opportunity to meet customer is a huge thing. You'll have to spend millions of dollars to get those opportunities. But here, by being in the partnership program, you can actually get free of cost and leverage that to your advantage.
Great. Thank you so much. And I have one more question in order of time. I'll just take the last question. Others, if you have any more questions, feel free to drop us a mail. Lee has already mentioned his email ID. Nidya has already shared. You guys already know my email ID from the webinar invite. But before closing, one last question, Nidya, that's for you. So we understand there are around 6,000 startups in Nvidia Inception ecosystem. What verticals does Inception currently support?
So we are a sector agnostic program. Having said that, there are few industry segments which is core to Nvidia. One is healthcare, then transportation/autonomous driving, robotics, smart cities, and data science. These are a bunch of the areas that we focus quite a lot, where we have built our own platforms. Apart from that, we do intake everyone who is working on AI. The idea is to support as many people as possible. So we would want to keep it as inclusive as possible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for taking time out and being here today. We really appreciate you being here. I think we had a great interaction and we would love to hear from you. If nothing else from my panelists, I would like to close this session. Over to you, panelists, if you have some last words to speak about in this webinar.
Thank you for everyone joining the session, and many thanks for Simi, Lee, and all Sachin and the rest of the Oracle team to put together this wonderful session. And looking forward to see how we can support you as much as, from the AI angle. There is a good partnership out here, so let's see how we can work it out.
Thank you. Okay then.
I'll second Nidya. Thanks everybody for joining us and participating. We too are excited about the collaboration with the NVIDIA team. So thanks everybody for being here today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Samir. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.